Shout out to my bro LXG Max who pointed this post to me. It made me discover something that the author of the post, I had actually blocked them. I don't know why. I just maybe was seeing a lot of their posts. So he's laughing. He just saw that I replied that I blocked this person. Okay, let's look at the post because your Torch Games. AI photo, AI generated photo, or maybe it's an artist that designed it digitally, but that looks very mid-journey to me, whatever. It says, subscription services like Xbox Game Pass are a net negative for gaming. Okay, how? They offer money upfront to small studios that prefer quick revenue over profits. This cheapens the quality. Do you know the funny thing about this Xbox quality of games argument is that it's actually not new. It's a rehash of the Game Pass quality games and all that nonsense. But the beauty of it is the Game Pass games and the quality is on the onus of the developer who actually has put it on there. That was how I actually bodied this argument about a year or so ago. Actually, from this, I think I was sitting right here. Yeah. The argument was that Game Pass reduced the quality of games. At the time, a lot of people making the arguments didn't even understand the intricacies of what they were arguing. In fact, at the time, and just like almost every time, there were more third-party games released in every given year than the Xbox games. How many of you remember then? I mean, this year Xbox literally flooded the whole place, right? And had all these games released. But if you look at 2023, there were, Xbox games at launch, but more third-party games were actually on the platform. And so it was funny because a lot of those third-party games were the ones that had to maintain the quality, and it wasn't necessarily Xbox games. And those third-party games were available elsewhere, and people could play them, and people could judge them and see that they actually did have a level of quality. For example, Lies of P. The quality of that game is based solely on the developer who actually did a very good job in bringing the game to the platform. This year, we've been able to see a good number in terms of different offerings, some from Xbox themselves and some from other developers out there like Expedition 33, Blueprints, which are third-party developers who took money up front and were able to deliver a quality game because their games were judged across the board by other people. This is a troll account. Okay? This is a troll account. Studios get a guaranteed, in quote, payment instead of delivering a memorable experience. My guy, if there's any game that hit the memorable status this year, if there are 3 games that hit the memorable status this year, right? Those 3 games were on Game Pass so far. Silk Song is one of them. A game that has basically received almost every layer of praise out there. Oh yeah, they have an Xbox Series X and S version and Xbox One version. Told you those consoles still cooked. Then there was Expedition 33. Expedition 33, Clair Obscur. Also a third-party game. And then there was Blueprints. These games are all going to be fighting in the Game of the Year category. See, you all have been hiding behind Fugazi all these years. This is the year of the exposition of what the reality is and the exposure of those of you who are literally hiding behind your fantasies. The bubble has burst. You are looking and standing there, and the emperor has no clothes. This dude quoted this article and thought he was basically going to come out here and eat something. Like, no. The comments under your videos, even though many of these folk prefer Xbox or even in some cases PC, they disagreed with you. They asked you, like, dude, did you just listen to what you just said or wrote? Maybe you didn't. Maybe you should have just focused on driving rather than try to use, speech to text to write something that didn't necessarily provide clarity. They offer money up front to small studios that prefer quick revenue over profits. Bro, the money that they hand you is basically profit. The money that they hand you is literally profit. When Spencer explained how Game Pass pays developers, it's right here. I got it bookmarked. Don't worry. Because all of you like to bury your heads in the sand. That's the beauty of the PlayStation fanboy, is head in the sand. So what you have to do is you got to bookmark stuff and tap them on the shoulder and be like, hey, get your head out of the sand. When they said that, they said in some studios, our deals are all over the place. And some developers are like, hey, we're willing to put the game on Game Pass on launch day if you give us X dollars now. What we can go do is we'll create a floor for them, and then they know what they're going to get and in terms of their success, and they're going to do that. What this does is it protects them from the downside risk. They make money up front. They make profit up front. I have to say, it's very hard to be polite making some of these videos because, again, this, like I said, we can call this troll baiting or whatever the heck it is, but I can see why this account is blocked. It's a net negative for who? For gaming, like gaming of which gaming are you talking about? Which gaming are you talking about? This has got to be the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life. This dude makes games. You make games and you say this is a net negative? A developer is saying this? My dude. What? Yo, I got to say, man, this is the craziest thing that I've ever seen in my life. Perhaps you may have other criticisms for Game Pass, and they are there. But at this point, I don't think we need to basically entertain you guys in that, because if y'all cannot actually think your way through what it is that you're saying, then you're being dishonest. I mean, if you're going to criticize Game Pass from an authentic perspective. Coming out with these so-called pedantic, backhanded nonsense that y'all are doing is just, it's quite shocking in the most debased way ever. It's just weird. I gotta tell y'all, I don't know what you guys are actually thinking. But the thing that anybody would eventually have to take you seriously is a huge ask. It's a tall ask. Unbelievable that somebody said that. Quick revenue over profits. And then you go ahead and sell the game. In fact, let's go ahead and parse this statement into the market reality. Because if you don't do that, right, you'll put yourself in a situation where it feels like y'all are throwing words everywhere. Because Crayola is so powerful. Crayola is the new thinking hat. You make a game, you're spending it, you're pretty much putting in expenses into this game. The misconceptions is, and I blame all of the pundits with their false and trashy misconceptions that put people this way. But I'm glad a lot of people are now well aware of the nonsense going on. You're making a game, you're spending X amount of dollars in making that game. Somebody comes to you and buys X amount of copies before you are even done making the game. Then you go and sell the game on PlayStation, you sell the game on PC, you sell the game also on Xbox. How is the person buying, let's just say they come in and buy a quarter of your launch sales before you even finish the game? They already gave you money for it. Let's say you were going to sell $1 million as an indie developer, right? Let's say this is what your revenue was going to be. Somebody shows up and says, I'll give you $250K. And you can still go push to try to still reach $100 million in sales. So if you were to hit this $1 million in sales and still have $250K, then this is basically what we call butter on the bread, which would be profits. I don't think you should actually worry about the business of your game. Make your game and give it to somebody who is competent in the area of business. Okay? That's my advice for you. You seem like you're, making a decent game. Torch games. It seems like you're making a decent game. But it should stop there. Make the game and leave. Find somebody who is business savvy and creative. I think a lot of creatives think that they're the only ones that are creative. So when businesses take on creative approaches, it shocks them. And many times they can't wrap their minds around it. I think someone's encroached your space. You don't own the, you don't own the rights to, or the exclusive rights to creativity. Business is a very creative, enterprise. And I think it really does rock a lot of people's minds. Or sometimes some people may be full blown. I don't know if it's, I won't even call it black and white, because this is something that can be parsed with very simple logic. I'm out, man. Thanks for watching the video. Peace out.